This is the art of Startup War, and my name is Brian McMahon, your host and sensei. Here is what we know. 98% of startups will fail every single day, and mostly due to reasons outside your control. The Expert Dojo Startup Accelerator, we look to even up the playing field by sitting down with the greatest minds in startup investment right here in our studio in Silicon Beach, where we look to shine a light on your path to success. Now, our guests each week have invested millions of dollars into startups and are the most respected investors in the world. Now, they share all they know with you, the listener. So join us on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, starting off your week winning the war against startup failure. Welcome back. It is another week. It is another phenomenal podcast. We're back here at Expert Dojo. We are in the fridge. I don't say that enough. We're in the fridge. I'm in here with my buddy Shane, and we're going to be talking again from the perspective of, actually, today you kind of get two for the price of one, right? Because Shane will not only talk from the perspective of Wolverine Angels, which he founded, and can speak to how a group will invest in early stage startups, but much more importantly, he's going to speak to the latest venture, which is crowdsmart.io, and CrowdSmart use artificial intelligence to choose the very best startups they can find, which have the best probability of success, and then syndicate it out to a massive angel network who then work together in a crowdsourced way to actually get startups funded. How did I do?
Great.
Freaking awesome. And I said to Shane when we started, I said, look, I do these podcasts generally in one day, and I sit with phenomenal angels, and I really enjoy it. But I need to be geeked out by something, and I am really geeked out by this because, and I don't want to get to the end without going through a little bit of foreplay, but the fact that they have taken 13 or 14 investments, and of those investments, merely 1 year later, over 50% of them have received follow-on funding, is unheard of, right?
That's right.
That's it. The interview's over.
It was nice to be here.
That's all I got to say. I want to know. I don't even know where to start. Like, I have the script and stuff, which I don't even want to go through. I want to talk about, like, firstly, actually, take me to you. Let's start with Wolverine Angels. We're going to get to CrowdSmart in a second. Relax, Brian. Wolverine Angels, what made you want to start that?
I mean, for me, it was seeing, so I did my MBA at University of Michigan. And coming out of there, realizing that it was just like our other top research universities in the country, where you have this tremendous resource of all the research and the tech that's being developed there. You have an alumni group that's investing in some of the top startups in the world, starting some of the top startups in the world, and you're not bringing those three buckets together. And I just asked the university, why? Why aren't we bringing those three things together? And, they came back and eventually said, you know what, we need to, right? And we've tried, and we have these programs over here and these programs over here. But ultimately, that was what really motivated me to start it, was seeing that there was an incredible opportunity to connect alumni who are out there back to that thing that they're so passionate about. And you can say the same for, this is why university angel groups have been cropping up. Duke got one started, and,
Harvard, of course,
Harvard has been going for a long time. Mm-hmm. Stanford has really ramped up the last several years. Berkeley, and there's so many, right? And
because there's a deep relationship between emotion and what you invest in, right?
Absolutely.
We need logic, but we need to like what we're investing in. And what do you like more other than your brothers and your sisters who went to college with you?
What are you passionate about, right? Because in order to go down that path of investing in startups, there are easier ways to make money, right? I mean, that is not the easiest way. You have to be in it, right? And you have to be able to recognize the startups that are committing 110% to that venture, right? And that's really, I think, what draws a lot of angels. There have to be financial returns. There's no question about it. Like, that's table stakes. There have to be financial returns. But the angel investing class as a whole, pretty strong, right? Really strong IRR from the studies that have been done by Kauffman Foundation and others. But the question is, like, what causes you to do all the diligence and all the work that you have to do to invest smartly? Right?
And at the beginning, was the Angel Group investing in alumni and in students in the college, or was it just that the Angel Group were from the college and would invest in with specific startup criteria outside?
So the thesis that we went forward with was, venture capital is too hard to limit your pool. So if you limit your pool too much, it becomes even harder. So what we did is we said, there's this beacon of alma mater, affiliation, passion. And that is what brings the investors together, is they want to invest together. They want to find a way to reconnect with their fellow alumni in a way that serves their own professional interests, and they can invest in technology in their space, and they can reconnect with fellow alumni who have been really successful. And so that was the element that really brought it together. The startups can come from anywhere. Now, it just so happened, 2/3 of the companies we invested in had a University of Michigan founder. We just had really good deal flow from that community, right? We're a shining beacon of
and they want to be invested in by you. I mean, if you're in college, like who do you want to get your money from other than the alumni of your own university?
Right. Yeah. And that's an element, Brian, that University of Michigan was actually doing a great job of, was supporting student entrepreneurs and supporting faculty entrepreneurs. What we did was we actually focused on alumni. Folks that have been out in the workforce for 5 years, in many cases, or folks who just finished their PhD and are moving out of Ann Arbor to go start their venture. And we were focused on those alumni who were saying, you know what, you guys have amazing experience, amazing technology that you've developed. And you're so far from the core of those programs that support students that we found that we could solve that need, and we could support those really accomplished alumni who want to start their own venture.
Phenomenal. And then you ran that for how many years?
So we formally started it in 2015.
Okay. And then what made you want more? So you're doing that, you're engrossed in that, and then you suddenly see crowdsmart.io.
Right.
What happened? Love at first sight? Was it a slow walk on the dance floor and you thought, yeah, that's the one?
I mean, honestly, immediately the moment I first met Tom, Dr. Tom Kaler, incredible entrepreneur, one of the founders of CrowdSmart. Yeah, I mean, his first company that he did was a spin out from Stanford, and it was the first AI company to go public in the United States back in the 80s, IntelliCorp. Incredibly impressive guy. His first 2 companies IPO'd. I mean, and so immediately when I met Tom and got to talking to him and we connected, I was like, I want to work with this guy. One way or another, at some point in the future, I want to work with this guy, right? You just know. And then met Fred, the CEO, much later. And at the time I met them was a few years ago, actually. And they were also in the university ecosystem. So they were helping startups at pitch events at universities use their technology to get insights from the crowd, right? And introductions to customers and things like that. And when I joined the team in November of last year, so in November 2017, and really what had changed in that time is that they had started supporting angel groups. They had started supporting accelerators, using their technology to support venture funds, angel groups, accelerators. And they had evolved into, they had developed a venture capital business model, right? And it was just obvious, Brian. I mean, we sat there and said, what I'm doing with Wolverine Angels, I'm about to go from 20 investors to 60 investors overnight. I can't support that without technology. Wow. And they looked at me and said, oh, well, this is perfect. And so I wanted to run all my Wolverine Angels deals through the platform, right? And 6 months later, I joined the team as head of investments and brought all of Wolverine Angels over onto the platform.
And what was it about the AI that makes you feel more confident than a couple of random dudes deciding, I don't even think that makes any sense whatsoever because it sounds way better already.
That is a great question. And there are two ways to answer that, actually. So one is AI better or are humans better? And what we do is we kind of turn that question on its head and we say, well, we believe that the two are better together.
Right.
Right. So what we do is we're not an AI, prediction platform in the sense of scraping LinkedIn or integrating even with LinkedIn or some other public data source and making sense of the noise. It's not what we do, right? What we do is we curate a custom team of 30 experts who know your business backwards and forwards in various different ways. So we'll bring a handful of investors who've invested in the space, a handful of entrepreneurs who've built successful startups in the space, corporate executives who know the pain point if you're a B2B company, end users who know the pain if we're solving a nursing problem, right? We'll bring nurses on there. We have the specific experts for that problem, for that startup. And then we run our process. And what happens is the AI is able to gather that intelligence from that 30 people, run natural language processing, sentiment analysis, and cluster these different experts around the different themes that emerge. So the AI is not scraping public data. It's gathering information from these curated 30 human beings.
Wonderful.
And then distilling the insights for the entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur doesn't have to go through and meet with 30 people, get 30 contradicting points of view, and then try to make sense of that, right? Like, I think there are people who really are great at that, right? Expert Dojo is amazing at bringing together a bunch of really smart mentors and then helping the entrepreneur find the nuggets.
Dude, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. The AI sounds better, but yeah, we try, right? We're flawed by our own biases in many ways. So if I've seen 15 dating apps and all 15 have failed and none of them have got follow-on funding and the founders have almost, killed themselves trying to get to the next level and it's been to no avail, if I see a 16th app within my limited experience, I will have a bias, whether I want to or whether I won't. And this is why I find the AI element so really important to what we're doing, because entrepreneurship is a way wider picture than just what Brian McMahon sees and what's come through Expert Dojo. The success or not success of entrepreneurs are based on probability, which is based on analysis, which represents everything that's happening in the entire ecosystem, and that's changing on a by-minute basis. So by being able to look at the main criteria that's going to affect, I feel like you're a top PR guy here, but I really, really like the way you're trying to take this, because it takes it away from the kind of, I don't want to say poison. I never want to say this in a bad way, but I do always look at the prototype of specific entrepreneurs who get chosen in inverted commas to be the flag bearer for the great companies. And I feel that it's not really picking, and maybe that worked for us in the States, like for the last 10 years. It's not going to work for the next 20 years. We need truly great entrepreneurs with really great products which have been tested beyond just whether they went to the right school or whether we knew them well or whether we felt that they're going to be nice to run the company, which is why I think the direction you're going in is really epic. I think it's a democratization in some ways of the entrepreneurship investment system.
And ultimately, Brian, that's why I joined CrowdSmart. It's because of what they believe in. Right. I mean, these are, between Fred and Tom, they've started 10 companies.
Yeah.
7 exits, successful. I mean, they're incredible entrepreneurs. They didn't go in this because they need to make some money.
It's like one of those conversations you say to people, so what have you done? And they're like, right. Oh, I don't know, I IPO'd a couple of companies. Like, okay, that's cool.
I mean, they started this because they were frustrated that they didn't have a great way to get deep insights from investors, right? That had invested in their company even, or had passed. And that investment insight, you have this radical transparency ethos here at the dojo, right? And that's what we bring with technology, is radical transparency. That's what we believe in. That's what our company is founded on, is radical transparency. And that is a core belief that I fundamentally believe in. And I think that if we can give entrepreneurs more insights into what their customers think and what their investors think, or smart investors think, they're going to be the better for it, right? And they're going to find success sooner. And so that is fundamentally one of the beliefs that that really drew me to CrowdSmart. The second one is kind of radical inclusion, right? This idea that you're getting at, that, our venture capital industry as a whole, there are a lot of great investors out there who are value add, who are doing some really great work. As an asset class, the numbers don't speak quite as attractively, right? And by the way,
you're so diplomatic. That was so beautifully said. You're like a swan going across the lake. It's flawed, right? Exactly. It is flawed. Like there's a challenge.
And that capital is concentrated, right? It's concentrated geographically. Yeah. It's concentrated around the prototypical founder, whatever that is, right? It's concentrated among men. Yeah. It's concentrated in Silicon Valley, in New York and Boston, right? It's concentrated in the United States. There are concentrations of venture capital, and we believe that great founders come from everywhere and look like everyone, right? And so what we can do, this is what you're getting at, and I appreciate you for kind of like directing us there, is that when we build this panel of 30 people, the one thing that the science of collective intelligence, that's what this AI technology is built on, is the science of collective intelligence. What it tells us is that if we have a really smart group of people who's qualified to solve this problem, and we give them a critical mass of information, one key element that increases the predictive capacity of that group is the diversity of the group.
Yeah.
So if we build a more diverse group, they're going to greenlight more diverse founders, and it's going to allow us to uncover the opportunities that are hidden in plain sight, or in the Midwest, or in wherever, fill in the blank, right? So that is really that element of kind of democratization that we believe in fundamentally. Now, having said that, we are happy to partner with folks in those large markets, and we have. But we believe that now that we've kind of proven out that the technology works, our predictions are over 90% correlated with startup outcomes. So of the companies that rank above a certain amount, the capital that they raise is 10x the capital that the startups in the lower class kind of raise. So we can predict not the current round funding, but the follow-on funding. We have proven that we can kind of predict what those outcomes will be on some level, right? And so that is the element. That's the kernel of proof that our technology has brought to bear. And like I said, we're not scraping public information. It is creating our own unique data set for each startup. And, the value prop to the startup is where we start, right? I mean, the startup, we basically say, if you say to any really smart, driven, curious, hungry CEO, like you have here at the dojo, would you like to get much deeper insight from your customers and your investors? You want to know exactly what they're thinking when they say no? You want to know exactly what they're thinking when they say yes? We can help you with that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I remember like one of our favorite startups here, of course, Craig over at Smart CSM. You guys helped Craig, evangelized him. We were only looking for 750,000, and what did he raise? 1.55 million within a relatively short period of time. So it bears out. I know. I remember the first meeting that we had. I mean, not you and me, because we went back before that, but the first meeting that we had about CrowdSmart. And I know last year it was like 13 investments, but the future is way more ambitious, right?
It is. I mean, we have tripled the rate of startups that we're bringing onto the platform at this point, and we anticipate tripling it again next year. So yes, it's aggressive, but unless you're bold in your goals, you won't get anywhere. Right?
It's true. And I know everybody's saying to me, listen, shut up, Brian. Will you just ask him, how do I get my startup on the platform?
So that's one element that that we are just laser focused on, right? Is really supporting startup ecosystems, right? What we do is by setting up a diligence room for each startup and having these experts diligence that company. One thing that we do is strategic diligence, what I like to call, right? So really thinking about what's the market opportunity, how well equipped is this company to solve it. What we don't do are customer calls, deep contract reviews, the kind of diligence that comes from either a VC, or a sophisticated investor who's coming in and really doing that deep diligence, or a program like yours, or a Techstars, or one of these accelerator programs, incubator programs that literally lives with the startup. Right? That's the kind of diligence we don't do. Yeah. Right? We're not good at that. You're good at that. So we need to partner with folks like you so that we know that we can add value in the way we do best to startups and make sure that we're supportive of the folks who are on the ground, putting in the legwork every day, right, to work hand in hand with that startup. So that's why, we really focus on sourcing our deals from programs like yours with Spark CSM. We're sourcing deals that come from Berkeley's accelerator and other accelerators. We're looking at across the country, right? So we really want to partner closely with a handful of accelerators, and that this way we can lever up the capital that they provide to their companies.
I love that. Anyway, my huge thumbs up for everything you're doing over there. I think it's brilliant. Can I speak a little bit about just entrepreneurship in general? That when you're looking at success in an entrepreneur, what does it look like? What does it look like? Not just from the mental, I was going to say mental stability, but sometimes with me, I do think we're all a bit nuts. But like from the mental fortitude of the founder, but also the type of process and structure that you see over and over again in the companies that are going to make it.
That's a great question.
It's big though, right?
It is. It's huge, and it's huge in terms of importance as well, right? And you started with mental stability, resilience, all that. I think we underestimate how important that is. I mean, there are a couple of qualities that I see in great founders. One is a relentless curiosity. It's the desire to learn, unpack, and go deeper and deeper and deeper, and go higher and higher and higher. So zooming in, zooming out, zooming in, zooming out. Like that ability it's really hard to do, actually, right? Because you get so deep into the customer mindset and into the product, you also have to be able to zoom out and see the forest. That is one quality that comes, I think, from relentless curiosity and always looking for new guidance, what's around the corner, who can give me the best advice, et cetera, et cetera. And, listening to your customers and also not necessarily doing exactly what they tell you, right? Yeah. You have to listen very carefully to your investors and customers and everyone, and then set your path, right? And that leads into the second piece, which is this just like determination, resilience element that is what you are, I think, alluding to. That is incredibly important because it is so important to invest in yourself as an entrepreneur, right? Make sure that you develop that fortitude and that resilience because you're going to go through those dark times. You're going to go through them. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. And you have to continuously focus on building up your resilience to that. And also, as an investor, I look for individuals who just see their business being successful as an eventuality. It's not a question. It's not like I have to figure out if I'm going to be able to solve this problem. It's this problem needs to be solved. And whatever it takes to solve that problem, I'm going to go solve it because it's important to me. And that is the kind of dedication that I think it takes to build a world-class kind of game-changing company.
It's so true. And resilience for me is right up the top. We try so hard to get people to come to classes for resilience, if there's such a thing. And it is so incredibly difficult to get entrepreneurs. And I think also a lot of it's because of the men syndrome. Most entrepreneurs are men, not because it should be, but because it is. And most men have got this inability to be able to connect with this emotional core that says that we are fallible, right? So we think, no, we're just going to go for it. We're going to build what we have. And it's a really, for everybody listening here, I really appeal to you. You don't have to do meditation. You don't have to do yoga, but you need to do something that allows you to step outside the daily grind of what you do all the time. It is incredibly important. So yeah, I like it. I love that you focused on fortitude. I love you focused on that. I think it's a really important area that they don't work. What are some of the big mistakes that you see in entrepreneurs beyond that?
I think some of the mistakes, it's the converse of that, right? It's not listening to your customers. It's not paying close enough attention to what strategic smart minds are saying to you, and kind of getting a little bit too focused on your tech or this thing or that thing. So I think that is a challenge. It's really important. The other element is, I guess, team resiliency. Right. And so how do you build a team that will weather the storms? How do you build a culture that will weather the storms? How do you build, how do you make sure that your team structure is right? And that's something that is incredibly hard. And I see a lot of startups struggle with that, which is hiring someone or bringing on someone who's there and is available, but may not be the exact right person to build it. The way that I get at this with founders...
It's like, just because you've known her from college, it doesn't mean you should marry her. Sometimes being best friends is a good thing for life.
Right. And it should stay in that domain, right? And so, yeah, one question I ask of founders all the time that I think is really important to consider if you're a first-time founder especially is, you're looking to build a world-class game-changing company, right? What is it that equips your team to beat not just the competitors out there that you see, but the 10 stealth mode startups that you've never heard of which I've heard of 4 because I'm an investor and they tell me about their business when they're in stealth. Those 10 companies that have already raised $5-10 million quietly and don't have a website, and they're serial entrepreneurs and former VCs. Oof. What equips your team to be better, to be able to beat them? Yeah. Right? And it forces you...
I like that. It's Warren Buffett's moat in some case.
Yeah, exactly. You have to think about your team as being world class. You have to recruit if you are a world class CEO, you have to recruit co-founders that are world class, right? And you have to be able to stack up against all these companies you've heard of and all these companies you haven't that haven't even come out yet. And that is really important. And you have to think about that from day one of your company. And I see that mistake being made by entrepreneurs very often where they bring on the, founders that are there and then have to retool their founding team or have to, transition certain people out or certain people back in. The other one is just, and I know you did a podcast on this, is having the right attorneys, having the right support group around you, getting into the right, I think accelerators and incubator programs can help with that, steer you in the right direction. But so often I see folks who are, have attorneys that are steering them in the wrong direction. And venture is a very specific space, and it requires people who really know the space to guide you in the right way. And that's legal advice is one of those important things that you don't want to overinvest early, but you want to have a sense of things early, right?
I really like, you actually, as you were speaking about the team and how it gets put together, it just gave me this really good visual image of create a football field not a mountain. And what I mean by that is the pressure that's on, if you don't build that team full of people who can create the moat, who can fight against everybody coming outside, it means you're on your own. And it means that you're on the top of the mountain, which is fine. And you've got a rope underneath you with another guy hanging out of him and another rope with another guy hanging out. And the problem with that is at some stage, everybody falls down. While on a football pitch, we're all on the pitch. We got the captain, we got all of the people on the team. Like, we're in really good shape on the pitch and we're able to actually do it. So, no, it's surround yourself with people who can support you. Don't always be the guy hanging onto the rope, bringing people up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like that. Hey, quick fire round. Favorite piece of advice you've ever received?
Favorite piece of advice is stay curious.
Yeah, never stop, right? I love that. I think I've been fortunate. You've been fortunate. We love this stuff. This is who we are, right? Favorite book?
In this space in particular, Innovator's Dilemma.
Yeah,
it's a must read.
Love that book because it's awesome. It gives you hope, actually. You read the book and you think, oh, it's awesome, they're screwed. We have a chance, like we can break it through. We got this. I love that book. Favorite gadget?
I just got a new headset and it allows me to take phone calls like in busy, messy environments, like in a Santa Monica mall.
Yeah.
I can literally be on a conference call out there because I've got my my headset. It makes me look like a dork, and I'm fine with it. It's got my big boom mic that sticks out.
Sweet.
But it's good.
I love it. Favorite entrepreneur?
That is a great question. I'm going to have to go with that is a tough question. I'm going to have to come back to that one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Actually, it can't be Elon Musk. Everybody loves Elon Musk because Elon Musk is cool, but it can be. My favorite entrepreneurs right now are in the dojo. Like when I see Craig was at one time, if you'd have said to me my favorite entrepreneur in the whole world, it would have been Craig Carroll from Smart CSM because of the attributes that he had, the fact that he's a cage fighter and he's going to fight his way through every single day. And it doesn't matter how big that brick wall is, he's going to bust his way through it. And he's not 22, he's like 50s. And he did it and he started it. So I'm like you. I'm into democratization of the beautiful sport that is early stage startup.
Yeah, I mean, the person that for whatever reason keeps coming to mind, I don't know if you would consider him an entrepreneur in the classic sense, but was involved in developing new technology in Benjamin Franklin, and in starting a country.
He gets it.
Which is an incredible endeavor.
It's kind of hard to beat that, to be fair.
It's a big vision. And it's, when you think about kind of the challenges that face your startup, if you look at that through the lens of what it takes to start a country, I mean, you know, you're breaking away from the most powerful force in the world.
Yeah. With
this idea that you can start your own thing and do it better, and you have to rally millions of people, and it's going to be bloody, and it's going to be X, Y, and Z. I mean, he helped start this thing, and he was an incredible inventor, a great mind of our time, of his time.
You're like Netflix going up against Blockbuster in a very tiny way, right? In that you have the huge, big giant, which are unbeatable, total domination, but they don't see the future.
Yeah.
They live in the past. And then Netflix comes in, kicks their ass, moves in, takes over, and then looks at what other little video nations are out there to see if they can have dominance there by creating an entirely different future than everyone's seen. Or you could say Steve Jobs. Yeah, that's a great one. I love that. And what do you see over the next 6 or 12 months? Let's leave this as the final question. I really I'm grateful for everything you do. I'm grateful for you building this AI. I think it's going to be huge. And more VCs and more angel networks are going to take notice that actually just 12 or 14 people sitting around a table and talking about our own personal experiences in relation to a startup is not the best solution. So I love what you're bringing and I support you in every way. But just maybe finish by giving people details about how they can contact you. Even if it's through us or through anybody else. And then also where you see the rest of this year going as far as what's going to be hot from an investment perspective and where you see the successful entrepreneurs going.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's there are a few pieces to that, I guess. Number one, I'll start from the end, where I see opportunity in the startup world. For me, whenever I see a trend that's hot in the venture world, I tend to look for what's not hot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are the areas that are undercapitalized, are underfunded? And, I tend to believe that, there's this huge opportunity out there to back folks who are going into really difficult industries so there's one thesis that I really believe in, which is internet access. Internet access is going to grow. It's going to become ubiquitous, but last time I checked, about a third of the world was reliably connected to the internet.
Yeah.
That's going to change, right? I made an investment a couple of years ago in a company called Phase 4 that is developing, propulsion systems for small satellites that could create constellations where you beam internet or data or whatever down to remote areas of the Earth.
Wow.
That, I think, is a huge opportunity. Then you think about mesh networks and how that feeds in, remote, energy systems to provide the infrastructure to build internet access. That's one big one that I think is really compelling.
So you mean like real things, not just a scooter? It's bizarre. But it could work.
Yeah, no. I mean, it will. I mean, we've seen that. Amazing businesses get built in unexpected areas, right? I mean. I would never have expected us to be looking at like a Warby Parker as, that great venture success, but it is. And that's one that I think is great, actually, because, it's outside the box. It's not just another B2B SaaS company, right? Which I'll invest in B2B SaaS companies. I have and I will.
Yeah.
But, I think thinking bigger about those big opportunities that are out there is also important, right? So that's one. Another question that you mentioned was contact. So getting in touch with me, I think, obviously, I do come and every time I'm invited and I'm in town, I'll come participate in your events, Brian.
You're always amazing.
I love doing that because, again, it's this ethos of relentless transparency, right? And let's just be honest and let's just talk and with the idea that we're just here to help startups. They're the ones in the arena, right? We're sitting here running programs and investing in companies. And yes, CrowdSmart in its own way is a startup. We raise venture capital ourselves, right? And so but I really see investors as service providers. And I think our entrepreneurs are the ones that are in the arena. And if I had best advice, best quote, actually, I would have gone with is that arena quote of, your face is there in the dirt and the sweat and the blood. And it's the CEOs, it's the founders that are going and walking that path, right? And I'm here to support. So I try to support through you guys. I mentor at a couple Techstars programs. That is how I try to get in there hand to hand and really support founders that are on their way up. And so that is one way that I'd say.
You're all over it. You're always doing it. And how can people contact you?
So, I'm on, I'd say email.
Okay.
So my email is shane@crowdsmart.io.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, it's a pleasure. We got many, many, many more years of this fun and games to go. I love it all, and I appreciate everything you do for Startup.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate the work that you're doing at Expert Dojo.
Thanks. That's a wrap.
Thanks for joining us. If you know any other entrepreneur equally ambitious as you, then share this podcast by paying it forward to other entrepreneurs who are building your own army. Now, as always, our website, expertdojo.com, is packed with information to help you grow your business, find investment, and train for victory. We also walk our talk and invest in startups every year in our accelerator here in Silicon Beach. You can always reach out to me at brian@expertdojo.com, and I look forward to being back here again at our regular time next Tuesday, 10 a.m. with another of the world's top investors, helping you win the war against startup failure.